Hello friends, welcome back. My name is Ramon. How are you today? It is Friday and you know what that means. It's time for a Fenty Friday. Today's video is going to be a little bit more of a continuation of one of my last Fenty Friday ideas, which was Complexion Perfection. And it was kind of inspired by my mom. Hi mom. Where she was kind of like, okay, that's great, but like how do I contour? So we're going to be kind of taking that Complexion Perfection, taking it one step further and kind of explaining how to sculpt, how to contour, how to shade and add dimension and life and color back into the face using Fenty beauty products. And if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, notification bell, so that you know when I post Fenty Fridays every Friday. Hit the thumbs up so that I know that these videos are so useful. Also, please, for the love of God, can you start giving me recommendations as to what you want to see for Fenty Fridays? Because I am grasping at straws at this point. So if there's anything you want to see that I can do with Fenty beauty products, just let me know, please and thank you. So as you can see, face is pretty prepped with a very, very base level. I went in with my 290 and the Pro FILT'R Hydrating Foundation. I spot concealed my little blemishes. And I color corrected under my eye with the Matchstick and Honey. So we have a very, very flat base. My Humpty Dumpty right now. And with this, now we're going to go in and start adding dimension. And now where things get really complicated and what my mom's big questions are is like, what products for what does what do I put, where do I put it, and why, right? We all get there at some point. As we start makeup, we start to learn how to do things, and honestly, I'm gonna be real with you, things gotta get bad before they get good. And there's pictures that exist somewhere on the internet back when I thought I was the hottest shit, with just like lines of bronzer on my face because I was like, I'm contouring now, and that's not cute. But understand, everyone goes through that phase. So like, you have to learn what works for you and what's gonna work best for you and how to make it look good. I've had a while to practice. I've gotten many years in front of cameras and like seeing how things look on my face, and that's really what it comes down to. What I'm going to teach in this video is what I've learned from my face shape, and as I go through it, I'm going to try my best to explain how to kind of tailor things to different kind of face shapes to achieve a specific kind of result. But you're not here in front of me as a model, so I can't really explain to you what's going to work best for your face, but we can work through this together and kind of figure out how to tailor things to best suit you. Really good tricks and how I kind of figured out things is really study your face. What's nice for me, like when I'm watching the videos that I'm editing, I'm kind of seeing my bone structure, how the light hits me. And a really good trick is just study your face under lighting. Right now I got studio lights in front of me, but in my bathroom, I just have one light that hits me straight on. And I notice if I look down, I'm really able to see bone structure and where I normally would want to see shading. And normally I look at my eyes and I see where like my eye shape, how I want things to be contoured to achieve that kind of like fox eye that's really hot right now. I see where my cheekbone is and where I'd want to add more dimension to really minimize that kind of flat look and elevate them up. And then from another perspective, I see where light hits me on the top of my cheekbones, under my brow arch, and other places I really like the light to reflect off of to achieve a really nice healthy glow with highlights. Also, what I'm going to say is, just because you see someone doing something doesn't mean it's going to work for you. That's how we have the really like long-standing trends of just like really unflattering shapes. So again, study what works for you. Do this in front of cameras, do this in front of mirrors, take pictures of yourself and see how things look. If you like it, it's good. If you don't like it, change things up. So let's talk about contouring. So what I will start off by saying with the Fenty Beauty products is that you have Matchstick trios available at Sephora and online, where basically based off which range in the foundation you are, 100, 200, 300, 400, you have a specific pre-selected trio set for you that features a highlighting shade, a contour shade, and then like illuminating shimmer shade, right? Those are really great resources to start off with. Now they have the bronzers, powder, and cream that have really great undertones as well. But I'm gonna be starting off with the Matchstick trio concept that was meant for the 200 range because I'm 290. For contouring, the shade that's pre-selected for that one is going to be Mocha in the matte Matchsticks. As you can see, she's cool tone. She's a little pink, which actually works really well for my skin tone considering I'm more of a warm olive. That being said, a lot of times for contour, the main thing you need to understand is contours are meant to create shadow. They need to create that cool toned, almost grayish look to really create that look of amber is another great shade, especially for more fair skin tones, but it's actually really universal to use. But as you can see, this is Mocha. This is what I generally use all the time in all my videos. To compare it to other shades, I'm going to be swatching it next to the bronzer so you can really see the difference of undertone and why bronzer and contour are in fact different things. So this is the cream bronzer in the shade Teddy. As you can see, they're very different colors. This is much more warm. This is much more pink. You see that now? And in comparison, I also have the powder bronzer. This is going to be lighter, but it's in the shade Private Island. And there you have the 3 different shades that I generally use to sculpt as a cool tone contour, as well as more warm tone bronzers. And the reason why bronzer is going to be different is bronzer in itself is warmth. Bronzer is what you put on your face to really mimic the areas where the sun hits your face naturally to create more of that bronzy, warm look that you get in the summer. So generally, the placement of it's what's going to be really different, as well as the effects and the look that's going to bring to your face. Can you use bronzer to sculpt your face? Yes, but the intention is intended to be different. And I'll show you what that means as we get into the makeup process. So as I mentioned with contour, the point is you're going to use contour as a cool grayer shades to really create the illusion of shadow. Those are the places you want to like really indent and reduce for the most part. So I'm going to be going swiping into my face with the product directly just to show you, but generally because I like more of a subtle look, I always go in and take product off with a brush, and that's how I kind of blend things in. But just to show you, my cheekbone naturally is right here. So generally you'd want to go right below that to kind of create the look of the shadow that's underneath the cheekbone, right? And generally the rule people use is from the top of the ear down to the corner of the mouth. But I have a long, slender face. I'm also a man. So for me, I like to create a little bit of a different shape. Because my face is longer, I actually don't take my contour as angled down. I take it a little bit more horizontally across. So I actually go right about here. Also, I have a slender face. I want to create the illusion that my face is a little bit wider, especially my cheekbone area, to create the look of more like popping cheekbones. So actually keep the shadow very, very controlled. If you have a more wide face, don't be afraid to bring that in a little bit more, just to create the look of a more slender face, as well as angling it more creates the look of more lifted cheekbones. Keep that right there. Forehead wise, I don't got a big forehead. My boyfriend, he got a big forehead. So we really have to control how we create the shadow to minimize certain areas. As you can see, I don't actually have a lot going on in my forehead. I completely avoid it. That being said, I do contour to kind of emphasize the shape of my eyes. I'm a man. So men normally have more protruding brow bone. So I actually like to enhance that, especially because I have my dad's eyes and I notice he has a little bit more of like a deep set hooded eye. So I enhance that shape a little bit. And by doing that, I actually contour the bridge of my nose. And this is gonna come into play a little bit later when I actually contour my nose. But I start here just to kind of make my eye look a little bit more deep set, really enhance the look of that like really brooding eye. And then I actually bring a little bit of contour right here in the outer part of my eye. Back when I did, I think it was my boy beat video or my glass skin video, I mentioned that why it made sense to me was looking at Ariana Grande's makeup, and I'll insert a photo right here. But if you look at her makeup, especially when she does like little side profiles, you'll see there's a parallel with the way she contours here and the way they contour her here. And you'll see how the eye contour really blends in with the contour they do for her temple and her forehead. And that's how you get that really snatched, like lifted look. And what I'm gonna explain right now is I do all of my dark before I do my light, mainly because I want to blend this and shape things out. And then I go in with my highlight, and then I use that to really brighten up the things I need to brighten up, but it also helps me to define shapes more. So for example, when I go in with my highlight underneath my eyes, not only is it going to highlight this and brighten this up a little bit, but I'm also going to use it to really shape out my eye shape, as well as control how far the contour goes in. Because again, I don't want contour to go too far in, since my face is too slender. When I blend in my contour, usually I see a lot of people blend in like this, and I do the swipey swipe. No, for me, when I blend my contour, I more buff it, but really buff it up. What I try to do is really start to blend the bottom of this into how I want the contour to fade into my cheekbone. This is how I get that more lifted look. If I blend this way or even down, I'm dragging my face down. You're gonna get a saggy face. The whole point with this is really lifting things up. You want things to be like snatched, you feel? Drag is a really great tool to look at when you want to like figure out how face shading works. I'm not saying do it as severely as drag queens do, but when you really study drag queens' faces, and I'm thinking like Shea Coulee is a really great example. Trixie Mattel, as exaggerated as her face makeup is, you really see the extent of how shading and shaping the face creates an entirely different face look. So again, this is a synthetic brush. Just because I'm using cream products, I don't want the brush to absorb product. It's just going to help buff things out. I'm really going in. So no contour. I kind of have cheekbones, but I don't really have cheekbones in that sense. And then with contour, as I'm buffing it out, I'm really making sure to follow that I want the cheeks to kind of go here, but to also kind of enhance the fact that I'm like a man and I want like this specific kind of like cut cheekbone. I buff to here, but then I also drag it down here a little bit just to elevate this up. Something Robert Welsh mentions in his videos, where if you start taking your contour and bringing it up here, you kind of create the look of like a really like chubby cheek, whereas bringing it here and bringing it down really enhances the look of a more lifted cheek. Also notice I don't take my contour all the way up here because again, I have a more slender face. I'm trying to widen my face up. But he does mention that if you want to really lift up a cheekbone, like really bring it up and kind of snatch it out, bringing your contour up into this area right here too helps to kind of, from the front, make this part look a lot more pronounced and like jutting out. Not for the eye makeup. Now for this part, the idea is you kind of want to blend it up and out. You can also blend it up into the crease a little bit, but we'll get more into that with bronzer. But you can get a little bit sloppier with this only because I will be using my highlight shade to kind of cut it out. But again, the idea is I'm taking this color, focusing it on the outer third of my eye and really using it to lift my face up. No eye contour. Eye contour. And then same thing for the brow bone. Doing it in this part, again, kind of sets this back a little bit deeper to kind of give you a more of a deep set eye and more of a protruding brow bone. But because you're also blending it into the front of your brow, it's a little bit more of a natural look. And because it's kind of a continuation of the nose up, it kind of adds into the nose contour. And that's that. We did contour. We're gonna go in and do bronzers now. And so with bronzer, again, the idea is warmth. When you think of where the sun hits your face as you're out and it's summer, you get tan in like these areas. You're not getting tan on the bottom half of your cheekbone. It's more on the tops of your cheekbones, bridge of your nose, tops of your forehead. And that's where you're really gonna be focusing this color on. Now again, I mentioned bronzer because it's bronzer, it's adding more depth. It's gonna sculpt your face a little bit more. It's not adding shadow necessarily. And that's why you did contour and why you want your contour to be a little bit more gray tone. To kind of add more warmth to your face, because sometimes that gray tone contour can be a little bit ashy, but to also give you that shape, that warmth, that life back into your face, that's where bronzer really comes into effect. Are there days where I use bronzer to sculpt my face? Yes, but sometimes people do contour and they're like, my contour is too orange. That's because it's more of a bronzer look. Also, bronzer, you don't want to be so orange, so warm, so like exaggerated. It's really just naturally enhancing a little bit more of like what your skin is, just more tan. And I actually use the same brush for this because I feel like it allows colors to blend a little bit more seamlessly, but also synthetic hair. And I'm gonna go in with the deeper bronzer first, which is, again, Teddy from the Cream Bronzer range. And while my contour is more right here, the bronzer for me is gonna be just a little bit more higher up on the cheekbone. And while I didn't contour my forehead, I am going to bronze my forehead because that's where sun naturally hits. Especially if you're someone of color, you know this part of your forehead's always darker than like the center of your face. Is this a little bit dark? Yes. But I want things to be a little bit more exaggerated so you can see a little bit better on camera how things are supposed to look. You can see now I have a nice little warmth. There's a lot more dimension here in this part of my forehead. It's a little bit more cohesive with what the contour is doing as compared to this side where like nothing's going on. If you want more of a subtle look, go more lighter with your bronzer, and that's why I'm saying your bronzer you ideally want to be just a little bit darker than what your actual foundation shade is. This is why I have the powder bronzer in the shade Private Island. This is actually more specific for the 200 range, and it's a lot more warm tone just because I am more warm. You want to kind of touch this where like the actual part of your cheekbone starts to turn up to diffuse out the shade of the contour, which is more cool, into where your blush and your highlight's eventually going to go. And I love bronzer in the eyelids. I bring it up in every single video, but that warmth in your eyes just brings more life to your eyes. It's a lot more complementary to your eye color and eye shape. I have more hooded eyes, so for me, I got to take things a little bit above my crease, but I'm really just diffusing that from where the contour is and diffusing that out into my like natural skin tone. And this is actually going all the way across my crease, connecting where I did the brow bone contour to the outer third contour, and then out into my temple. One side contour and bronze, one side not. And you can see the sides a lot more dimension, a lot more warmth, a lot more lifted and snatched. Nah. So once I add the dark, I like to go in and add the light. And again, I color corrected my under eye, so it's very neutralized. So there's no discoloration in it. So really what I'm gonna do with this highlighter now is really just brighten and bring forward the parts that I want to brighten. As I do in a lot of my videos, I don't do that like triangle of light thing people do. A, it's a lot of product. B, it's really unnecessary. So what we do is focus brightening to really minimize the amount of product, but also just really enhance the overall makeup look. It looks a lot more fresh that way. So I have the 290 concealer on the back of my hand right now, and I'm gonna focus this right here in the inner corner and kind of bring it down just a little bit. But also right here in the outer third of my eye and kind of following that line, angling it up. And that's why I did the shadow first and bring the light in second, because I could really work this to shape the eye look that I want, shape the cheekbones and the look that I want, kind of control the contour and bring it back if I need to. That's a preliminary little blend. I like to go in with my finger and just make sure that is nicely melded into my skin. It's that simple. If you find that your eye contour went a little bit too high and you still want to kind of enhance the brow bone while also still maintaining that eye shape, take just a little bit. And again, I'm using a synthetic eyeshadow brush. These brushes are everything for blending out concealer in a really, really natural, really, really subtle way. I just kind of go in right in that upper part, right underneath my brow bone, diffuse it out just a little bit into where the contour and bronzer are, and then just kind of control that shape a little bit. Not brightened, not brought forward, and then how it is brightened, brought forward, as well as shaped. And then something I haven't done yet. One of the major points of controversy with makeup is nose contouring, and I never really contour my nose. You see people do like the whole like the 11s, the bars, and then like the one line down the middle. I don't got the nose for that. I also think it looks really, really bad unless you are doing drag. Can you kind of sculpt your nose? Yes. Should you? Depends on the nose shape you want. Remember in Rihanna's Vogue tutorial, she talks about, she's like, I got a black nose, and that's a specific type of nose, and you got to learn how to play with that nose. And in those situations, yes, just because you're adding more dimension, you're adding more of a cohesive look across your entire face. And I'm going to do that, but in a different kind of way, where it's not exactly contouring my nose, but it's creating a cohesive look across my face. And I do that by bronzing my nose. I'm really not gonna highlight it, but something to keep in mind is when you are out in the sun and you get tan, notice where the sun hits again. And I told you that's more of the tops of your cheekbones, tops of your foreheads, top of your nose. So the part, I have a bigger nose, it like sticks out a little bit, you can't see. So basically I focus that right here, right on the bridge of my nose. Kind of went a little bit here and there. You're hitting the bridge of your nose, the top of where it is. And in doing so, you're adding bronze, you're adding a little bit more dimension and shape, but you're also, in my case, diminishing it back a little bit. And then on top of that, I have a longer nose, so I actually cut off the bottom of it. And notice, it is a lot. It is very pronounced right now. My favorite trick, one of the oldest tricks in the book, is with the same foundation brush you use to buff out your foundation, which still has product on it, go over areas that you want to diminish a little bit. It's going to subdue that color and create a little bit more of a subtle look. Again, I'm doing this for camera. You'd be surprised how drastic it can look in person, but how minimized it is on camera after everything's recorded. And that's how you create a little bit more of a natural look if you did too much. So pro tips. And so for me, I only focus it right here. Because that's where from the side it kind of pops up, but also from the front, it's a little bit wider. So doing it there kind of diminishes this bump that I have on the side of the nose. And then doing it at the bottom here kind of shortens my nose up. If you want to elongate your nose, that's where you get people doing like that button nose contour where they like bring the highlight all the way down to the bottom. They also do the contour at the bottom and then around to create that like pinpoint light. I got a big nose. All I try to do is diminish it a little bit. So you contoured, you highlighted, you bronzed. So now we're gonna go and add blush. And blush is another tool that you can use to sculpt your cheekbones. How I use blush to really make my cheekbone look a little bit more round right here and pop out. To do this, I'm gonna be taking the Rosé Latte shade from the Fenty Cream Blushes. And you can see it's a nice deeper nude bronzy blush. But to do that, I'm basically gonna focus it kind of where the bronzer was in that same little area, but I'm not gonna focus it right here. You know, people like do like that circle of blush right here. That's what you do if you want to create like very, very like chubby cheeks. I don't want chubby cheeks. I want lifted, like snatched cheeks. So what I do is instead of focusing it right here, people do like the whole like smile, apples of the cheeks. I focus it a little bit further back, a little bit higher up. And I really bring that blush up and back into the temple area, just because I, as someone who doesn't have necessarily the most protruding cheekbones and I don't have the most wide face, my goal is to lift my cheekbones up and make my cheekbones kind of go back a little bit so that they're a lot more like protruding out, if that makes any sense. So I have a secret face. You can see blush, no blush. If you want to do the most, and something I really like to do is actually bring blush up into my crease as well, just to create a little bit more cohesive look. Subtle, especially with this color because it is more of like a bronzy, nudie blush. It really plays well with the look I'm doing specifically today. If you're doing more of like a purple or a bright pink corally blush, might not work the same exact way, but by all means, I love cohesion across the entire face for like a really monochromatic look. So now I'm gonna go and set everything, which I do the same way in all of my videos. Just because I'm done with the creams now, we're gonna go in with highlights. And I'm using the Fenty Pro Filt'R Setting Powder. So key with highlight, and today I'm gonna be going with the Mean Money Hustler Baby highlight, is you don't wanna do that like strip of highlight like this and just call it a day. You really wanna, again, focus on how light hits your face, where you want light to bounce off of. Something I noticed in all my videos is I really like to focus my highlight up here, especially really close to my under eye, because to me, that's what really elevates the cheekbone up. I create all the shadow. I use the blush to really sculpt out the cheek, but I want to really elevate it and create that pop. Don't go like this, highlighting this entire strip. I really pinpoint it right here in the front, under my brow bone, just because those are the areas I really want to create that like jutting out like model cheekbone. Also, I really buff it into the makeup so I don't have just like a very exaggerated like glitter strip. Taking a highlighter brush and getting into the product, I'm gonna go in, focusing where I want the product, and then we just go in and buff. Again, I don't really do the bridge of my nose just because I try to minimize that a little bit as much as possible, but someplace I really like where light shines, you can see it right here, is right in between my eyebrows. So I actually really like to hit that spot. I got oily skin. I don't highlight any part of my forehead except for sometimes maybe right above my brow. One thing with highlight is you have to think about this adds shimmer to your face. If you put it in the wrong spots, it equates to like greasiness. So like you would never put highlight right here because it looks greasy, and this is the spot that gets greasy for me. That goes for my forehead too. If you got dry skin, by all means go ahead, but that's not my tea. Something I like to consider is that I have very exposed eyelids because my lashes point straight the fuck down, but also light naturally catches in some areas around your eyes as well. And think about like inner corner highlight, that specific reason. So I'm gonna pop some highlight right there, but also right in the center of my eyelid. Kind of like you would do for like a halo eye. And so notice I got facial hair, so it really hides a lot of this, but also kind of gives me God's natural contour. In regards to like, if you don't have facial hair and you want to learn how to contour all this, tips that I have is obviously people do under their jawline. If you have more of a square jawline, bringing your contour up along this part, kind of making that V shape, is going to minimize that look and give you that really slender look. It's really popular in like a lot of Korean makeup looks just because they want to really create that like V shape, but any contour down here is going to minimize the look of this and really give you like more of a cut chin. Just be careful when you do it. You really want to blend it into your makeup because God forbid you do this and people see that like distinct line. You see people take baking powder and basically cut all this when they bake to create that very like cut cheekbone. Be careful with how you do that because do not forget what you highlight, you're bringing forward. Remember a makeup artist back at Sephora, her name was Jill, kind of taught me this when she did it for a client, where when she did that, she started back here or right in front here and cut it back, but didn't let the baking go all the way back. She had a client with a wider jaw and bringing it all the way back would have really highlighted how wide and how square the jaw is. She really kept the highlight right in the front here to create more of that cut effect, to give her more of a cut cheekbone without widening the jaw. That's something you have to think about because I see all these makeup artists just always take their baking powder and just go one solid stripe down here. And it looks really severe and it looks really sharp and they're really widening the jaw shape. So be mindful of how that's going to affect your face shape. Is it bad? No. Just you have to kind of tailor it for how your face shape looks. That's kind of all I really have to say for highlighting and contouring your face. Again, the big key is focus on how your face shape works for you. I kind of explained why I did what I did for my face shape, how to tailor it more to other face shapes, but if you have any questions, leave those down in the comments down below. So you can see I have one entire side of my face now, highlighted, blushed, contoured, bronzed, versus another side where it's completely flat. Note, it's not very exaggerated. I'm not that kind of person. I don't do full glam, I don't do drag. This is more of an everyday, maybe you're going out a little bit, but really understand, this is kind of like a good springboard to start with to kind of understand how to work things for your face. If you want more severe, more full glam, more exaggerated, by all means do so. Go more heavy-handed, use darker products, but understand there is a beauty to subtlety. There is a beauty to minimalistic. This is just a basic how-to guide to kind of follow so that you can understand things a little bit better when it comes to contouring, bronzing, highlighting, blush placement. So yeah, if you found this useful, if you like the concept, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I do Fenty Fridays every single Friday. And again, leave recommendations down below. I'm kind of running out of ideas to do for Fenty Fridays and I need help, so please help me. Thanks for watching, guys.